Alright, in case you guys didn't know, I'm a huge Dark Souls fan. So I was definitely going to get this game. Um, I wouldn't say this review is going to be biased because I love Dark Souls. I'm going to try and look at this, you know, and compare it to the other entries as much as I can without putting any sort of, like, I guess, fandom in on the review. So, but Dark Souls 3 seems to really go back to a lot of things from, like, Dark Souls 1. Like, I feel like the theme is more set to that. So if you like Dark Souls 2 more than Dark Souls 1 for whatever reason, this one's not going to really fill that void. But if you felt that Dark Souls 2 was too much of a departure from the first one, you're going to really enjoy this game. The enemy variety is amazing. I'll start with that. So, like, one of the things I was worried about was, especially coming from Dark Souls 2, was enemies being very similar. Because it seemed like Dark Souls 2, everyone was like a humanoid enemy. Um, well, with this one, that's not the case. I don't think I've seen really the same enemy twice, except for when one area becomes like a little different towards later in the game. I don't want to really spoil it, but like it makes sense for that to happen. But overall, each area has its own unique characters in it, and I don't think I've really seen the same enemy type twice in two different locations. So that's really impressive. The areas are great. Uh, I wouldn't say they're as varied as Dark Souls 1. It seems like no matter where you go in the game, you're either in a church or like a graveyard. I was in a party with my friends, and the guy's like, "Oh, I'm at a bonfire. I'm at a church." It's, no one knew what church he was at. That it's kind of sad, but at the same point, like, the churches are different. So I wouldn't say that, oh, just because there's like 9 churches in the game, everything's the same. They're definitely different. But I kind of wish that it was as varied as Dark Souls 1's areas, where like it got pretty diverse. Even Dark Souls 2 actually had pretty varied areas. But overall, this actually does a pretty good job on the areas, though. I was satisfied with them. Uh, as far as like gameplay, I have to actually hold a strike against the console versions. I bought it on PS4 because I was worried about hackers on the PC. Overall, the PvP is amazing on PS4. I haven't had any problems with that. But boss fights and like certain areas, the frame rate would drop so low and your inputs would get messed up, and it's just really, really like disappointing. I thought if anything the game was just going to run at a steady 30. I didn't think it was going to dip down to like 10. So that's kind of annoying. If you're going to get this on console, look out for that. I guess I would recommend it more for PC. But that doesn't really, I guess, affect the gameplay as much as the performance based on what system you get it on. So let me address gameplay a little more correctly then. Gameplay is actually really good. I would have to say that they took the best of Dark Souls 1 and what little was good about Dark Souls 2. Backstabs aren't as ridiculously easy to get as they were in Dark Souls 1, but they're also not as impossible to get as in Dark Souls 2. The weapon arts is a great addition to the game. It allows you to do these kind of like awesome moves that are like high risk but high reward. The PvP feels really nice. The Estus in the PvP is kind of annoying because people could just keep drinking Estus, and when they kill a phantom they get more Estus, so it's like, eh. So fights last a little longer than they should. At least dual signs, they're still respectable. They don't use Estus if you were to summon a dual sign. So that's a good thing. So PvP is fine. As far as the PvP covenants, it seems like almost every covenant is somehow linked to PvP. You got the Blue Sentinels, which help the way to blue. You got the Dark Moon Blade, which is basically the Blue Sentinels. You have Rosaria's Fingers, which is basically Dark Wraith. You have Aldrich Knights, which is actually kind of cool. You have like Watchdogs of the Woods, which is pretty cool. And you have a new one called the Mound Makers, which is basically like a purple covenant. They're really interesting as well. They're like, you could summon them and they could help attack like enemies, but they could also attack you. And they're pretty interesting. I kind of like them. They actually have objectives when they go in, so it'd be like either kill the host or 2 phantoms, depending on how many people are in the game. So that's fun. You can't reinforce armor anymore, which is kind of weird. But you can reinforce your weapons and infuse them with something, so that's back. You have to find like ashes and coal to get more upgrades and stuff. So that's awesome. Also, little side note: when you beat the game, you're not automatically drawn into New Game Plus. I wanted to throw that in there. I think that's great because I always hated games that did that. I think Dark Souls 1 did that. Dark Souls 2 didn't. So they took that from Dark Souls 2. That's a good thing. But yeah, the boss fights were great. Every boss I fought definitely was pretty different. Even if they were like similar, like if they were both humanoids, like one would be way more aggressive than the other one. The stages that the bosses have, it seems like just two stages. I think they took that from Bloodborne mainly, because I don't really remember that in other Souls games. Well, I guess there's Smelter. He did, yeah. So I guess it was a Dark Souls 2, Bloodborne thing. Did they do in Dark Souls 1? But yeah, you basically take it down to half health and it transforms. So continuing on with the bosses, there are how many? I think it was 17 or 19, somewhere around that number. About seven of them are optional. Uh, they're pretty different. I wouldn't say that, like I said before, I wouldn't say that two fight the same. They have way different moves. That was awesome because I really loved the enemy variety, like I said before, and the boss variety. Overall, this game is just great. Like, usually I would say like, wait on a game or just pass it up completely, rent it or whatever. But this game, definitely buy. I'm putting in plenty of hours in it. I made like two characters. Everything in the game, a lot like Dark Souls 1, everything in the game you see, like if you see a boss or you see an enemy running around, you could get that gear and you could wear it and you could like dress up as that character for PvP purposes or even just playing through the game purposes. My second character is like kind of like the dancer, but the dancer's weapon sucks, so I have to use like twin cell swords instead. The weapons in the game are pretty good too. Sometimes if you get like a great sword, it might have a different um, weapon art. Like the Black Knight great sword, I think's weapon art is where you like buff up your poise for a bit. Then they have ones where you buff up your attack. You have ones where you just spin around like crazy. The katanas are pretty much like you sheath it and you swing really hard, or you could sheath it and do a parry with the sword, which is really cool. So now I'll just talk about the connections because I remember Dark Souls 1's netcode wasn't really the best, and Dark Souls 2 was okay eventually, like towards the port to the PS4. The connections I've been having, there were a few laggy matches, but overall, like considering how much I played and also how much my friend was playing, he had like 80 dregs from killing people like pretty quickly. There really isn't much lag, and I even took off the same region matchmaking, so now I'm going against people that are even in different regions. I still haven't really found any lag, really. Anything that was like too debilitating. Right here in the video, I actually have a video of me PvPing, and it connects really fast. It seems the fastest right now is level 60, but I'm sure that's going to change later. When I got to like level 20, 120, I'm sorry, I noticed that the final area had a lot of like duel signs down. It seems like a good area to duel because there's like no enemies. But in this one part, I fought two summons. It was like a summon and a host, and the host actually quit out. That's one thing I do have to complain about the PvP is that disconnects don't award you for anything. I think they should make it to where like if someone disconnected, you automatically get the dreg or whatever you're working towards. The Aldrich Knights use dregs. Um, but overall, if I was to give this game a rating, I would probably give it either a 9 or a 9.5. I would just give it a 9.5. Only reason why I wouldn't give it like a perfect 10 is because there are some things that the other games had that they should have corrected. Like the Dark Moon Blade should have allowed, like the Dark Moon Blade should have been different than the Blue Sentinels in a way that they would invade people who sin, like people who invaded, like they used to do. And the Blue Sentinels could protect the way of the blue. Right now, the Dark Moon Blade basically is the Blue Sentinels, and it makes no sense. So yeah, 9.5 out of 10. I wish they really would have corrected that. That's like one of the things. Other things are just very minor things like frame rate. Like I wish they kind of paid more attention to that, but I think that's the hardware's fault, not the system. I mean, not the game. Overall, it's good. It's really fun. I've been just playing it nonstop, and I've been lost in it. Barely got any sleep while playing it. I think I was getting like 5 hours of sleep every time I played this game. Stayed up till like 5 in the morning. Very rare that I would do that with games. I think the last game I did that with was Salt and Sanctuary, which, obviously, as a Souls fan, that makes sense. So, yeah. Definitely worth checking this game out. And with that, I'm gonna leave you with the rest of this fight to check out. So thanks for watching the entirety of the video. I'm gonna probably review, I don't know, maybe Battleborn next, the beta. It's an okay game, but yeah. So thanks for watching. Definitely check out this game. Like I said, 9.5 out of 10. Probably the best game I've played so far. But then again, that's the bias part of me. That's the fandom. I had to get that out somehow. So thanks for watching. Got the summon out. Yeah, I just took out his summon. That was just me and the host.